The passenger cabin is filled with crying people and terrified flight attendants. At least 30 people have some kind of injuries. Many have found themselves far away from their seats after being thrown around the cabin. These are the horrifying results of a plane flying through an area of severe turbulence on its way from Spain to Uruguay. Due to this, the aircraft even had to travel to Brazil instead. Luckily, the plane landed safely, and the injured passengers were taken to local hospitals. Similar incidents have happened before. Take a flight from London to Singapore in May 2024. Then, dozens of people were hurt and one person didn't survive severe turbulence. Flights are indeed becoming bumpier, and we might have the answer as to why. But first thing first, turbulence is when a plane feels shaky because of uneven air movements. This happens because of changes in wind speed or direction, often caused by things like mountains, jet streams, or storms. Airlines can often predict where turbulence will happen and try to avoid it. Pilots and crew know how to keep passengers safe if turbulence happens. Turbulence can cause anything from small bumps to more serious shaking. But in very extreme cases, the plane could lose control for a moment or even get damaged. Airlines spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year on damage, delays, and injuries from turbulence. Even though turbulence can be scary, serious injuries or demise are rare. Between 2009 and 2023, only 37 passengers and 146 crew members were seriously hurt due to turbulence. Meanwhile, the number of flights has gone up from 26 million a year in 2009 to about 40 million today. Turbulence is getting worse these days because of changing weather patterns. Recent studies show that severe clear air turbulence in the North Atlantic has increased by 55% since 1979. This increase is happening in other parts of the world too, especially over the US, which has some of the busiest air travel routes. This worsening turbulence feels intense, like hitting a deep pothole while driving at 60 miles per hour. Unfortunately, severe turbulence, especially turbulence in jet streams, fast-moving winds that flow around Earth, could double or triple in the coming decades if weather changes continue at the current rate. And this is concerning, since jet streams are very important for air travel, affecting flight times and the overall safety of flights. Commercial airplanes usually fly at very high altitudes, 31,000 to 42,000 feet, where the air is much thinner and planes use less fuel. At these heights, planes also encounter jet streams. They travel as fast as 275 miles per hour. There are 4 main jet streams on Earth, and they affect air travel in different ways. For example, when a plane flies with a jet stream, it can shorten travel time as the plane is assisted by the wind pushing it along. But when planes fly against the jet stream, there is more resistance, which makes flights longer. Warmer air is now making the wind in the jet stream behave differently. Wind shear, which is the difference in wind speeds at different heights, is increasing in the jet stream because of the rising temperatures. This makes the turbulence in jet streams stronger, especially in places like the North Atlantic. When a plane is flying at about 550 miles per hour and encounters this turbulent air, it shakes and moves suddenly. It's like skating. When you're skating on smooth ice and then suddenly hit a rough patch, you feel a jolt and a change in movement. In the case of turbulence, the plane experiences forces that make it move in ways that it normally wouldn't. As a result, passengers can be thrown around if they're not wearing seatbelts. Scientists predict that turbulence will continue to worsen as global temperatures keep rising, mostly due to increasing volumes of greenhouse gases like CO2, which trap heat in the atmosphere. In fact, 2023 was the warmest year on record since modern record-keeping began in 1880, and the last 10 years have been the warmest decade ever recorded. The increase in CO2 levels in the atmosphere is also the highest it has been in at least 800,000 years, and likely much longer. It all means that turbulence is bound to get much worse. But turbulence is not just one thing. It comes in different types. Convective or thermal turbulence happens when Earth's surface is heated unevenly by the sun. Warm air rises in columns while cooler air falls, creating bumps in the sky as the plane flies through these moving air currents. You can mostly feel this kind of turbulence during the day, especially in hot areas or when the sun is shining directly on the ground. Mechanical turbulence occurs when the wind blows over obstacles like buildings, mountains, or even uneven landscapes, causing the air to break up and swirl, creating turbulence. Mountain wave turbulence happens when the wind moves over mountain ranges, creating swirling, wave-like patterns that continue on the downwind side of the mountains, leading to turbulence. There's also frontal turbulence at weather fronts, where warm and cold air masses meet, causing the difference in temperature and pressure and triggering turbulence. Plus, every plane creates turbulence behind it, especially around its wingtips, where powerful rotating air vortices form. If another plane flies too close behind, it can feel the effects of this wake turbulence, which can cause bumps or jolts. Thunderstorms can also result in turbulence. But the worst thing here is that even if a large and powerful storm is far away, it can still affect aircraft. But the worst of them all is clear air turbulence. It occurs in seemingly clear skies at high altitudes when fast-moving air flows next to slower-moving air, creating differences in wind speed and direction. The problem with this kind of turbulence is that it's invisible. Pilots can't see it. Satellites can't always detect it, and it doesn't show up on radar. This is why it can be such a surprise when it hits. One recent example of clear air turbulence was in 2023, when a flight traveling from Texas to Germany suddenly dropped by 1,000 feet during meal service. Passengers and crew were moving around the cabin when it occurred. After the plane landed, 7 people were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Pilots are well trained and use loads of different tools to handle turbulence. They have weather briefings before takeoff to understand what conditions might be like during the flight. These reports help them plan the safest route. There's also onboard weather radar that detects weather patterns such as storms, which can cause turbulence. This allows pilots to adjust the route to avoid rough areas. Pilots from other aircraft flying along similar routes can report turbulence conditions in real time. These reports help the current flight crew make correct decisions. If turbulence is expected, pilots may change altitude or flight path to find smoother air. They communicate with air traffic control to make these adjustments. Plus, some advanced systems like the IATA Turbulence Aware Network provide real-time data from other flights, giving pilots up-to-the-minute information on turbulent conditions. And since clear air turbulence can't be detected by radar, pilots rely on weather forecasts, reports from other planes, and their own experience to navigate these invisible bumps. By the way, to minimize discomfort during turbulence, pilots sometimes even reduce the plane's speed. When clear air turbulence hits, planes can experience a sudden and temporary drop in altitude. This happens because the air suddenly becomes unstable, causing the aircraft to lose some of its lift. Although the drop is often brief, it can be terrifying. So, here's one crucial thing to remember. Stay buckled up at all times. Yes, even when the fasten seatbelt sign is turned off. Unless you need to get up for medical reasons or to use the restroom, remain seated with your seatbelt fastened, especially if you fly from Mendoza, Argentina to Santiago, Chile. This flight route holds the top spot for the world's most turbulent flight paths. The turbulence is caused by the way air moves and interacts with the Andes Mountains. This mountain range dominates South American flight paths. That's why other routes in this region also rank high on the turbulence blacklist. Outside of South America, the Himalayas and Asia also cause turbulent flights. Routes connecting cities like Kathmandu in Nepal, Chengdu and Qining in China, Lhasa in Tibet, and Paro in Bhutan are all affected by turbulence caused by the mountainous terrain.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.